Alright, welcome to Random Guitar Duels, where we take a bunch of guitarist names, put them in a big glass bowl, shake up the glass bowl, draw out two names, and then you guys vote in a poll to tell me which one you think is better. At this point, we have reached the final top 10 of guitarists, and today's matchup is Eddie Van Halen versus Jimmy Page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down a few points on each guitarist and then leave it up to you guys to comment and then vote in the poll. So with Eddie Van Halen, of course, the first thing everyone is going to talk about with Van Halen is his tapping technique, which he did not invent, but he popularized, and he refined it to a point where it became an integral part of everything that he played rather than just a gimmick. It may be the case that there are other people who even use the technique in a more advanced way than Eddie did, but Eddie used it in the most musical fashion inside a pop rock format. Another thing to mention about Eddie is his tone. He's a famous tone chaser, and his guitar always had, it was ear candy even no matter what it was playing, due to his tremendous dedication to creating, winding his own coils, Frankensteining his own equipment, and carving out a sound niche that was completely characteristic for just him. The third thing that I would say is that Eddie was a great songwriter, and his riffs are maybe not as iconic as Tony Iommi and maybe not as infectious as Jimmy Page, but they're totally original, and they aren't completely based in the blues, but they partake of the blues, which makes them really interesting. So moving on to Page. Page is one of the most important guitarists in terms of defining what does it mean to be a rock guitarist and what does it mean to look like a rock guitarist. And I think that virtually every popular lead guitarist in the 1970s borrowed something of Page's sound and something of Page's image, and so for that he almost deserves to be considered, one of the great patriarchs or grandfathers of the entire endeavor as far as rock music goes. The second thing about him is that he was incredibly imaginative. He tried to use the guitar to do soundscape that you could come up with, from the mystical, soaring, kind of menacing sounds of Kashmir to like gentle, caressing sounds of Bron Yar, even his country licks on Down by the Seaside and rockabilly licks. He plays acoustic and electric with equal skill, and he had a joy and passion for guitar that allowed his talent to shine like 10 times brighter than it normally would have. The last thing that I would say about him is that his production skills are inseparable from the legacy that he leaves as a guitar player. So if you listen to Led Zeppelin's albums, you hear Page's guitar playing in its best light, and it's his production skills that make that possible. And so I think you can't separate Page's production from his actual playing. And one more thing I would throw in there for Page is he's a really good improvisational player in a live setting. So those are my points on these iconic guitar players, and now the important part is your vote. So go ahead and vote in the poll, leave a comment below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.